Historically, why have black women why have black women have had a deep contempt against black men historically? Even though black men we did so much for the black community throughout history in America. We've done so much for black women. I mean, we led the civil rights movement. We gave the black community, we gave black people, we helped give black people as a whole their rights. And we gave black women their rights to live in this society and have certain opportunities, like through the civil rights movements. And, you know, throughout history, black men, we've been fighting for the black community and black women. And they still have a deep level of contempt for black men as a collective. It's not all black women, but as a collective, they do. And you would think that after all throughout in American history that black men put on the line for black women, getting killed, getting lynched, fighting for rights of the black community, the civil rights movement, and there's several other things also that black men have done, even while being in slavery. And we were doing this for the black community, black women, for our people. And they still have a deep level of contempt for us. And you would have thought that since black men have been doing all these things, that black women, they would love us. They would have a deep love for us for this. But it's the opposite. They have a contempt for us. And who has caused the black woman to hate black men, to have a contempt for black men historically? Who do they get this hate from? I believe that they have gotten this contempt for black men from white men. Historically, they have. As you guys all know, throughout history, black men in particular have been living in a racist society. Like, let's go back to slavery. Like, man, we were really actually the main ones who were enslaved. Like, at first, it was mainly black men who were brought to the United States, brought over from Africa by European white men who were slave traders. And these men always had an issue with black men. And that was kind of obvious. Like, look how white men historically have treated black men. They have discriminated against us, beat us during slavery, and just have treated us really bad historically in this society. White man has always had an issue with black men. And I think the issue that white men have had And still to this day, a lot of them do still, but especially historically, is white men have always had a contempt for black men. They've always been envious of our manhood, and even white men during slavery who were above us technically in society, they were still jealous of us. They were still envious of us. On the surface, they may have felt superior, but deep down inside, these white men have always felt a natural inferiority to us. They've always deep down inside perceived black men as being stronger than them. And yeah, it's so very obvious that historically white men have had a hatred against black men. Like look at what has done have been done to us black men from white society, white men in particular. And I believe black women have gotten the white man's hatred for the black man. The black woman has gotten her hatred of black men from white men. And I believe that the method in which black women have gotten this hatred for black men from white men has been through sexual imprintation. I believe that's one of the root causes of black women's hatred towards black men. That's how they got it from the white man, their hatred through sexual imprintation. Like we already know throughout, even before slavery started in the United States, black women in Africa were already willingly sleeping with white men. You can read the book Daughters of the Slave Trade. It talks about it in that book. And that went on during slavery also, after we left Africa. Black women were sleeping with white men. And of course, sometimes it was rape, but a lot of times, and maybe even majority of the times, these sexual relationships between black women and white men were consensual. It's not talked about a lot in history books. It's not very popular. But it's a harsh truth in history that that people kind of like try to sweep under the door. That black women willingly were sleeping with white men, and this was through slavery. After slavery, black men were getting beat down by white men and getting lynched and getting our foots cut off and all this harsh thing towards black men. And black women still and then were willingly sleeping with white men who were very hateful and oppressive towards black men. And to add on to sexual imprintation, like let me start it out. Let me give you the definition of being sexual imprinted. When men have sex with the women, especially when it's a female's first few sexual partners. Women get sexually imprinted by her first few mates, and the women receive these first few sexual partners' energy. They receive the man's spiritual essence, and things of that nature. And a lot of these slave masters, a lot of them, these white men, they were getting first dibs to the black vagina before even black men. Like a lot of times, these slave masters were having sex with these black women even before black men were. Like a lot of these times, these slave women, their first few sexual partners were white men. Like the slave masters won their first dabs on these women. And a lot of times, since the white man had power, they got their way. And like I said earlier, women get sexually imprinted by the first few men they have sex with. And when a woman gets sexually imprinted, they receive that man's essence, his energy, his spiritual essence, things of that nature. He gives that to her. And when a woman gets sexually imprinted, those qualities of a man get connected to her. So if a racist white man who has a hatred for a black man, and that's in his spiritual essence, to be envious, jealous, and have an extreme hate towards black men, he's going to pass on that energy to black women, to the black women who these men were sexually imprinting. So that's how, in my theory, that's one of the reasons why black women have had such a high contempt against black men. Like, they got that haterism energy for a white man from sleeping with a white man, being imprinted by a white man. And over the years in slavery, and even after slavery, being sexually imprinted by a white man to hate black men, that turned into a culture of contempt of black men. See, it started off biological. Being sexually imprinted, that's biological. Then over time, that biological sexual imprinting of hating black men, having a contempt for a black man, rose into a culture of contempt for a black man. So now today we see it as a culture. It's normal in the black woman's eyes. And a lot of times they don't notice. It's subconscious now that they have contempt for black men. That's a collective. And its roots are biological.